Hi, you're watching The Red Booth Show, and we have some of the members from the Firefighters Mechanics here. Hi, welcome to The Red Booth Show. I'm your host, Kimberly Q. And on tonight's episode, I have a special interview that we're doing regarding something that the guys from the mechanics department of the fire department have to deal with. And I have Gary Hodge and Harry Wong and Louis Del Cid here to talk to us about all of that. So come and join us. So thank you so much for being on the show today, you guys.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
Definitely. This is kind of a different type of a topic than what I usually have on the show, but I thought it was important because obviously we care about people that are helping to take care of the community, which you are through your work as firefighters mechanics.
Right.
And I know that I think when Louis has been talking to me originally, there were people that were involved with helicopter mechanics and taking care of the fire engines. So you guys are the ones behind the scenes sort of keeping everything going. And this situation that you brought to my attention has to do with sort of cancer that's been coming up with people in the firefighters crew. And so I think that's important that we talk about what you've been up to and what you're doing about that. And we have some survivors here. So why don't we start from your side? You can introduce yourself and say what you do.
I'm Gary Hodge from LA County Fire, and I'm a fire mechanic. We take care of all the apparatus for LA County, the fire trucks and whatnot. But we also have, like you were saying, helicopter mechanics that are exposed to carcinogens and whatnot that we're being diagnosed unproportionately high for the industry with cancer, varying types of cancer. It's not what we're directly exposed to. We're not out there as much as the firefighters are on the fires. But when the apparatus comes to us for the repair, that's when we start getting the exposure. These two gentlemen, they both are survivors, thank God for that. But this conversation started with Ray Ortiz, who about a year and a half ago passed away. It brought a lot of attention to the cause because it seems every year or so we're losing one of our guys to, passing away from being diagnosed with cancer.
And that's definitely more in proportion to the general population. I think you had mentioned something like 19 people had been diagnosed with cancer out of 75 or something like that.
That is correct. And those are just from the numbers of the people that have been willing to share their story and diagnosis. I'm one of them. Harry's the other one. Harry's a cancer survivor, kidney cancer, correct?
Kidney cancer, yes.
Myself, colon cancer, and Ray Ortiz, the gentleman who he just mentioned, he passed away from stage 4 lung cancer. And while...
May he rest in peace.
Yes. And while he was in his bed, in his last moments, he had just been back a year and a half from surgery, and I had just been back from surgery myself about 8 months. And we want to bring awareness, and we want to ask everyone in your audience to please, if they could please help us, contact their California senators and let them know that AB 1400, the bill, which is going to help us quite a bit, to please support it. We do work that a lot of people probably wouldn't know we do. Number one, simply because we're not in front of the cameras. We're not, like Gary said, we're not
in the spotlight. Right?
Yeah, and we're not asking for a spotlight. We're just asking to be included so that our families don't have to endure the hardships that come when you get diagnosed with cancer, being that we're exposed to carcinogens and toxins at work.
Well, I mean, what sort of support is given to the firefighters right now, as opposed to, for example, mechanics and stuff? What's sort of the difference that's there?
Gary will be able to more explain that.
Right now on the books, 47 out of the 50 states have what's called a presumptive law for firefighters. Basically, the idea is if a firefighter comes down with cancer during the course of their career or even up to 5 years after they retire, that the state will step in and absorb some of the health care cost. There is nothing for a fire mechanic. And so the idea is you're already fighting fire or you're already fighting cancer.
So like medical leave and that sort of thing?
Medical leave, your medical bills. If you don't have the appropriate insurance, you could lose everything. My mother, when I was a kid, she passed away from cancer. then the insurance companies are so vicious when it comes down to it that they took the house we were living in. We were homeless for 3 years.
Oh my God.
And so, yes, she wasn't a firefighter or a fire mechanic. That wasn't the direct connection there, but being that I'm very familiar with how the insurance agencies work, I don't want to see anybody have to go through that.
What did you guys do?
Well, my dad kept on working. We lived at a campground.
Seriously?
Seriously, for 3 years.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's not easy. You know, you lose your mother or anybody, right? But then go to high school. Go to school and try to explain, oh, I don't have a real place to go home to tonight, right? So, but you make do, and everybody has a hardship in their life. So we all have a direct connection to this, and I think it's only our due diligence to try to take care of those that, take care of us.
I mean, definitely, obviously. And in Los Angeles, I think it's one of the biggest fire departments, and we're sort of known nationally for our fires here. You know, we have the forest fires, the brush fires. They're pretty epic proportions. And so I feel like we're one of the biggest fire departments / mechanic unions that you're going to have in the country, but I'm not sure. It just seems like it would be. Makes sense.
No, it does, but we've reached out to all the different agencies just in Southern California, so San Diego, Ventura Fire, Orange County Fire, and we're having a meeting coming up here pretty soon. We're just getting all the fire mechanics just so we could bring awareness to them for about this AB 1400. And it's surprising how everybody's like, hey, finally somebody's talking about this issue. Yeah,
Wow.
we just have several agencies, they all have the same thing. So it's not localized to just to
That
us.
makes sense, yeah.
So we got people watching this across the nation. They're hoping that this as does California, so does the world, right?
Well, it kind of ripples across the country.
And so that's hopefully the effect.
Right. Okay, we have to take another break, or I'm sorry, we have to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with the Red Booth Show. And welcome back to the Red Booth Show. I am here with some of the people that have been working with our firefighters mechanics union, and we're talking about something that's very important for California, which has to do with the carcinogenic, how would you say that, carcinogenic nature of the job?
Yeah, carcinogens.
Carcinogens that they have to deal with on the job. Obviously, the firefighters are out there. They're right in, the thick of it, but then when the vehicles come back and the helicopters come back, then you're exposed to that for the next 9 hours as well, and dealing with repairs and that sort of thing. So on a constant basis, it seems like.
It's our primary
That's
job.
correct. Yes, that's correct.
Sometimes sometimes we'll get rotated as fire equipment mechanics for LA County. We'll get rotated to the fire line. We don't fight the fire. We don't go in with the firemen to.
But you're standing next to where they're fighting the
Yes,
fire.
and we're repairing the equipment on site as it breaks down so they can continue to do what they do.
Right.
And when the repairs are, or if a vehicle becomes damaged or the repair is too heavy to do on site, then it gets shipped back to a repair facility. And, and the mission continues. So thank you. Thank you for giving us the platform to share our story. We are part of Local 119, and ASME, Council 36, District 36, and we're very grateful to be here.
Well, I'm very happy to have you here, and I think that it's important to talk about these kinds of issues because, I mean, just dealing with, obviously, illness in a family is something that's very hard, and sometimes people don't even want to talk about that, and it's, people feel ashamed or they're embarrassed or whatever that they're having to face in terms of having, the responsibility of the family and the bills and just going through everything that comes with. So I think it's really great that you're here and that you both survived through cancer that you've gotten, from what you've done as a job. That's terrible that you've had to go through that, but that you're doing something about it to help other people as well. So maybe it'll help the next guy that comes along.
And that's our goal. Our goal is to, not so much for us, we've already had to, deal with the ordeal of being diagnosed with cancer. And hopefully this will create more awareness on the preventative measures that might come after that.
Yeah.
But in the event that someone else does get diagnosed, we want our fellow mechanics to be taken care of.
Right. Well, I mean, we already know that this is something that happens with the firefighters. We already know they're exposed. So they already have this support, which is great. And they, of course, should have as much help and support as possible. But I think that the idea of having it also expand to their support crew is sort of a no-brainer to me. So, I mean, it's already passed through the assembly, right?
That is correct. It passed the California Assembly with all votes in favor, correct?
73-0.
Yes.
That's pretty amazing.
Unanimous.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And, the opposition right now is beginning to mount, and that's the reason why we're here to...
The opposition being the insurance companies? Or?
That will be one, the coalition of counties and cities.
Right. So those are the two largest employers for coalitions in the state. The Coalition of Counties and Coalition of Cities have done their formal opposition to us.
What grounds do they have?
As fiscal responsibility, right? So ultimately, if somebody was to utilize the bill, then somebody's going to be left holding the cost of that. And so they're trying to avoid that by saying, well, it's part of your genre, or it's part of your scope of work, that if you get sick, well, then it's kind of on you. I don't think it's a malicious thing. I don't think anybody's really had the idea or the conversation until now that, hey, we need to have that coverage as well. So the opposition is more of, they just don't want to incur another cost. And we can understand that. But at the end of the day, if we could get a program that initially cost $100,000, just for sake of numbers, right, $100,000, as opposed to paying for someone's cancer treatment, which is $1.5 million.
Is that really how much it costs?
If not more.
It can get up there. Last I read, and I remember when I was about to have my surgery, the doctor didn't know whether or not I was going to need chemotherapy at the time. So, I started doing a little bit of my own research, and the numbers at the time were that the average cancer chemotherapy treatment was about $68,000 per person. And of course, it all depends on how many treatments you have to go through. You might have to go through 1, 2, 3 sessions. That doesn't include, radiotherapy. It doesn't include anything else. I mean, the cost can mount rapidly.
I'm sorry, but just a little bit of a question comes to mind for me. It was like, just how do they justify how much it costs to treat these things? It's just kind of astronomical. That's a whole nother issue, I guess.
Yeah, that's a whole
nother issue. But at least what you're trying to do is get help to cover your medical costs and cover medical leave. Is that the main thing?
The idea, I think, more so is, instead of going to the point to where we need the medical costs, let's do something before someone gets sick.
Preventative care.
Right. This is how we could actually get the attention that needs to be brought to the forefront. So if we could do something that's preventative as opposed to wait till somebody gets the diagnosis in cancer, it'd be astronomical to be able to save that money, but more so the impact that's on the families. Right. So if somebody never gets diagnosed because we put something in place,
even better.
That's the goal.
Hey, that's great.
That's the goal.
Right. Okay, we have to take another break, but we will be right back with the Red Booth Show. And welcome back to the Red Booth Show. I am here with some of the members of our firefighters support group, I guess you could say, the crew and the mechanics that have been helping to keep our engines out there and the helicopters flying. So we were just talking about what you're trying to do in terms of preventative care with this bill. What's the name of the bill again?
It's Assembly Bill 1400.
Okay.
And so it's authored by the Assemblywoman Kamlager Dove. But the amazing thing about that is the very first board, when I went to the Assembly, I went to the Assembly Assurance Commission, we received 2 volunteers to co-author the bill, which is kind of unheard of. So once the conversation started, it kind of caught on fire up on the Assembly, and people really got behind this.
Well, it was a unanimous vote in favor, so that's pretty amazing.
73-0 is kind of an unheard of deal.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Now, I have a question. How would you create preventative care for cancer in this situation? Because do they know exactly what causes it? Is there some way to stop that from being exposed to you? I mean, I'm just curious.
Well, there's measures that could be taken, but right now we have no preventive measure. We don't have anything other than the basic nitrile gloves and a painter's mask to keep us safe.
Even I know that's not going to stop anything from
right. And I mean, there's over 1,100 different carcinogens and toxins in wood smoke alone. So imagine.
What about cigarettes? Just kidding.
Yeah.
I better quit smoking.
Another conversation, right? But no, the idea is if we could just come up with like basic preventative measures and decontamination processes. I think that would help mitigate the cost and actually just keep people going.
Keep people from getting cancer. That's a great idea.
Absolutely right.
I like that in the first place, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I would love to hear your story too. You're a survivor and you're a mechanic.
I am. Okay, so May of 2016, sorry about that, I had to think about that. So May of 2016, I was diagnosed with kidney cancer. Okay, so and also that was a very hard year for me because March of 2016, my mother was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. So I was taking care of her. My brothers and I were taking care of her until I was diagnosed with cancer. And then, obviously, I went through my surgery. And then after my surgery, being home recovering, I continued on.
You had kidney cancer?
Yes.
Did you have to have it?
Get removed. Yes, I had to have it removed. So I'm a one-man soldier now.
One kidney.
One-man soldier. No more drinking. Darn. But yeah, it kind of scared me, because when they told me that I had kidney cancer, and first thing that came to my mind was, am I gonna survive? And not realizing, about whether I was gonna survive or not. My mind started running 100 miles an hour, So getting phone numbers, contact information from my wife, in case I did not wake up from the surgery. Okay, so that was on my mind, and thank the Lord that hey, I'm here.
You made it.
Yeah, I made it, and so far, 3 years later, I'm still cancer free.
That's fantastic.
So yeah, we got this bunch of guys together. We talked about it, and we decided, hey, we need to do something about this, because like Gary and Luis were saying, we're having one mechanic drop dead every year from cancer. A month and a half, 2 months ago, we just had one of our helicopter mechanics pass cancer. Retired helicopter mechanics passed from cancer.
Out of a group of like 50 or 60. So to give a relative number to that, that's a pretty high percentage.
Yeah, obviously, and we already know that you're being exposed to the carcinogens, so that's proven,
right?
And that's what we know firefighters are already getting help for as well.
Right, so. and firefighters, they're not. I'm not knocking them. Okay, they do a lovely job. Okay, but they're not exposed to the carcinogens like we are day in, day out. We're 5 days a week. 8, 9, 10 hours a day.
That's a very good point.
And these two gentlemen have not experienced it, but since I've been with LA County, almost every year except for the last 3 years, I've been deployed to 1 or 2 fires a year, okay, and for 7 to 14 days at a time. I've been called out to duty to go out to where the pumpers, the engines have broke down, and work on them with brush fire burning around us, and they had safety equipment on. I had nothing.
No.
And
how could that be?
They just don't want to supply it with us.
That's just a budget issue. They don't have the masks for you. It doesn't make any sense.
I'm going to say probably a budget issue, and maybe they just don't want to.
But you're there with the fire surrounding you.
Yes.
That is crazy.
We're not in a fight with them, but if a vehicle breaks down.
But you're standing close enough. Even me, I'm 100 miles away from a fire, and I can smell it, and it's filling up my backyard. So
right.
I can't imagine being in the street right there next to the fire,
right.
and not having any protection. That's crazy.
Right. And there was like maybe 3 or 4 incidents that I had to go out and get the vehicle running, and breathing in all that smoke and stuff, and gagging, and coming back and hopping in the showers or blowing my sinuses out, just all that black carcinogens that I'm inhaling.
I'm in shock, honestly. I can't believe that. And then you have to go back and deal with the vehicles on the spot too. So
on the spot, and then when they come into the shops, for repairs, they don't get a thorough cleaning. So these vehicles could be out, 50 fires, still coming into the shops, and all that carcinogens just caked onto the vehicle.
Interesting. Okay, well, we have to take another break, but that's really interesting, guys. I hope you come back and hear the last part of the show about what we're trying to do to solve the problem. And welcome back to the Red Booth Show. I'm doing a special cause interview today, and we are here with some of the members from the firefighters mechanics crew. And we have been talking about a bill that's gone through the state assembly in California and is now going to the Senate. And so I would love to hear from you what you want everyone out there to do and what you want them to know.
Well, the idea right now is to contact your senator. It's not a hard thing to do. It seems pretty, arduous if you're not familiar with doing it. But all you have to do is go to your zip code, Google it, word search it, whatnot on the internet, and say that you want to reach out to your senator and say, hey, we want you to support AB 1400. It's not hard to do. Write a letter. We know that letter writing campaign works. We recently did it 2 months ago with the assembly.
You're talking about the state senator, right?
The state senator, yeah.
Okay.
And for your district, for wherever you live, you could write them and say, hey, there's an Assembly Bill 1400 that's coming through the Senate floor. Please support that bill. It's easy enough to do. We've actually recently received a thank you letter from District 72, Tyler Deep, down in Huntington Beach. Not only did he take the time to acknowledge the fact that he voted for our bill, but that he was in open support. And we just want to say thank you for that. I mean, we're a bunch of mechanics. We had so much opposition when this thing first started. We called 50 different research labs to come out and actually test the fire apparatus themselves. And as soon as they heard that we worked for the county, automatically shut down.
No.
We had 2 people scheduled to actually come out on scene. As soon as their management found out from their research.
Why? Why would they have that?
They don't want to take the
conflict?
county on. They don't want to take the county on. This is kind of like the David and Goliath story. We're just the working, non-shiny people that need some help.
So you just needed somebody to say that it's true that these vehicles are this toxic, basically.
Right, and nobody wanted to say, hey, we'll put our name behind that and verify what you guys are suspicious of. So if we're having that type of issue, we decided to go another route and do the legislative route. And so far, everybody that we have the conversation with, it makes sense. But until you have that conversation, you don't know what to get behind and what to think about and how to go about doing so. And so AB 1400 will fix that.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, I honestly am just surprised it already wasn't included in everything and that you don't have your, protective gear already, and just kind of shocked, and I'm glad you guys are doing something about it. So
thank you very much. Thank
Yeah.
you for having us.
Thank you.
This helps get the word out.
totally. And I think this is not going to just be something that affects California. Like you were mentioning, if it does pass here in California, then it will probably be something that other states will then take on as well.
Absolutely.
So-
That's the hope.
That is correct.
That's definitely the hope. If as California does, so does the world, right? So if we could get this done in California, if we get that done in California, it'll definitely get the attention of people nationwide.
Yeah, I think also if we were to find out about how many other, percentages of mechanics in other states are getting cancer as well, then that would be very interesting too, to kind of bring to the table as part of it.
And just to make it a little bit more relative, so just for LA County, we're a drop in the bucket, right? For every 33 firemen that are out there, there's one mechanic. For every every firefighter that is diagnosed with cancer, it would be 16 of us. So we're 1/16 of the overall populace of the deal, and we're the high number. There's a lot of city organizations out there, or onesies and twosies, where they only have 1 or 2 people that are supporting. But the common thread and common theme is they're coming down with cancer too. So they don't have the voice. They're a lot smaller organization than we are. So we decided to band together and try to get something to go. And AB 1400 is what came about.
That's great.
Yes, we want to thank Assembly Member Kamlager Dove for
Yes.
all her support, her
Yes.
staff. It's been amazing. We thank her very much. She came down to our repair facility. She's an amazing person because she took it upon herself to show up to our repair facility and see with her own eyes what we're dealing with, and that speaks for itself. So we want to thank her and her staff. We want
Absolutely.
to thank you for giving us the opportunity.
You're welcome.
Please support the cause and contact your local senator and help us out. AB 1400.
Very cool. And what would you like to say?
These 2 guys Basically said it all. But thank you very much, and we would appreciate if everybody could contact their senator. You know, it's not that hard. Just Google your state assemblyman. It's just your zip code, and the addresses are there. Your local address is there, and also the state senate's address is there. So just send a letter and say that you're in support of AB 1400. We would very much appreciate it.
Okay, good. Well, I hope everybody does go and find their state senator and reach out to them and talk to them about the bill and tell them that you support it. And basically, this is going to help give them protective gear, right? And paid sick leave. And what else?
Mainly, it's the whole idea is to create a conversation to where we can create an environment where nobody comes down with cancer. And this is making it happen. So this will, on the back end, take care of your health care, but on the front end, let's not get the cancer to begin with.
I agree. Let's just put a stop to that as soon as possible. So,
Absolutely.
But I'm glad that you're here to tell your story and show what you've had to go through. And I think that's really great that you're turning into something positive. So thanks again for being here, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.